Well, the first time I ran into this issue, it kicked my tail for a couple of days. But since I figured that one out, I got a call on this one doing the exact same thing. And I knew exactly what it is. So let me show you what's going on with this thing. "2017 Chrysler Pacifica here. It is the Gen 2 Pentastar 3.6 liter, the V6. Still pretty common lifter or rocker arm issues with these motors. These things have the variable valve lift where it basically changes valve lift type with different cam lobes, and they eat off cams just like the bad roller followers in the Gen 1. These just do it in a different way, and that's what happened to this one. It eat the cam off. Shop went through this thing, redid all the time, and put camshafts in it, lifters, rocker arms. They did it all. They replaced everything. And once they put it back together, they keep getting a PO300. Ignore this. That temperature sensor was unplugged. I guess when they had it off doing some more testing. But PO300. And if we go into this thing, it is kind of strange how it does it. In the wrong thing, gotta go back. System test. Let's look at the misfire counter and see what's going on with it. So we're in global disable. It might not let it count. Okay, yep. So 2, 4, and 6. You see how we've got all these misfires on 2, 4, and 6? The engine, it feels fine for just a few seconds when you first crank it. Let me clear the code and show you how this thing acts up. So get my key back on here. Let's go back and clear this code. Okay. Code menu, codes. See, no codes. Alright. And let's go back into our misfire counter. And we're going to crank it. Counting right away, but this engine's running smooth. If we was misfiring on all 3 cylinders, this thing would barely be running, but it runs smooth for a few minutes. And you see how we don't have a flashing light? Once it starts flashing, it's turned injectors off, and then we'll start running kind of like crap. Right there. Yeah. So, all on one bank. You kind of think, well, they had all the stuff took apart, did timing, maybe the timing's off. All right, so we've got our timing here pulled up, and you see our bank 2 intake cam is 147, 147, 148. So that one matches. This one's 146. Actual is 145. That one matches. And then our 2 exhaust here, they match. You know, everything's within a degree of each other. So timing wise, doesn't look like an issue at all. Everything's right there where it should be. And if you notice, our check engine light has stopped flashing. We're idling smooth. I mean, how can you go from misfiring like crazy to idling smooth? If we let it sit here and run long enough, it'll go back to running like crap again. Let's do a custom data PID section to where we can get some better data and don't have to be sorting through everything so much. Going to deselect everything in the engine and I just want to look at the injector pulses right now. So injector pulse. Okay. So right now everything's running. You can see bank to bank, pretty much everything's the same. Bouncing between 1900 and 2100, 1700. So everything's working correctly. All right, let's turn this thing off. Key back on and crank it. See how everything's running smooth? No lights flashing. This is all good. And look, we've killed this injector right here. 300. That injector's turned off, basically. Why would it turn this off? If we wait long enough, this injector will actually come back online. And you can see we got a flashing light there because it's disabled this injector. Like I said, if we let this run long enough, that'll clear back up. It'll come back on. Let me give it some throttle, see if we can force it back on. No. No, we just have to wait. But this was a really strange problem the first time I ran into this. And I can tell you, the guy that done this job, he's not dumb, he's not a hack. He done a good job with this. I promise you, it's in time. Like, you won't find anything wrong with this engine when we got this problem. He's already, went through, done coils, plugs, even injectors all on this side. He's done everything that he can think of that would cause this issue. Sadly, it doesn't have anything wrong with it. The car is perfectly fine. Yeah. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Some of you might already know what's wrong with this because I actually did a podcast episode with Sean Tipping on the Automotive Diagnostic podcast, and the focus of the episode was this problem. So if you don't listen to that podcast, you really should, because there is some silver bullets in that, and I'm going to give you guys a silver bullet on this. And yeah, let me pull up some information. I'll show you. It's back to firing all 6 injectors now, and idling smooth as could be. Give it some gas. Everything's good. Let me get some information pulled up so we can fix this thing. When he did this job, he missed something. And he didn't miss it because he didn't know what he was doing. He missed it the same way the other shop missed it. They didn't read their service information. Yeah. Read your service information, people. Like, even if you've done this job 100 times, you need to read the service information, because there's some stuff in here that you have to do, or else you can wind up with weird issues like this. I can tell you with a Gen 1 Pentastar 3.6, you will not have this issue. But a Gen 2, yeah, you're going to have this issue. And I've got the all data pulled up here. Let me try to get it where there's no glare. And basically, this is the repair for like removal and install and timing components. Okay, so if you read through this, the procedure on how to time this engine all of the way through, there's lots of things like cautions, don't do this and that, and you know, lots of stuff you should pay attention to. But you need to read through this, because down here at the very bottom, we have this note. The cam crank variation relearn procedure must be performed using the scan tool anytime there has been a repair replacement made to a powertrain system. For example, flywheel, valve train, camshafts, and or crankshaft sensors or components. Both shops replaced camshafts and did not perform a crank relearn. Yeah, you replace a motor, do a crank relearn. You replace a PCM, do a crank relearn. This is very important. I fix misfires all the time by doing a simple cam crank correlation relearn. So I'm going to show you. Y'all have seen this thing acting up. You've seen the check engine light. It happens soon, like not long after you cut it off, cut it back on. Like right now, all 6 injectors are actually firing like they should be. We still got our check engine light, but we're going to do a cam crank relearn on this thing. And notice the service information specifically says a cam crank variation relearn. Well, whenever I diagnosed the last one and found this, it kicked my butt, because I have a process when I approach things like this where engines have been gone through and things like that. My process is to do a cam crank relearn. The problem is that day I was in a hurry, and when I went through doing all my resets, I missed that one. I didn't do it. So then I wasted 2 more days messing with this Jeep, because I didn't completely follow my process. But let me turn it off and get back into just ignition on here. If we go into miscellaneous functions, what I had done was a memory reset that day, and I also did the cleaning, the phaser cleanings, but I missed the cam crank relearn. Doing a reset memory does not do the crank relearn. So let's do this. All right, I've got the engine up to temperature. So it says also must not be running. So you got to get it up to temperature and then shut the engine off. And I may have to exit completely out of this thing and come back into it. Oh, I wonder if I may have to clear the codes first. Code menu. Okay, let's see if we can do it now. Alright, cam crank relearn. Okay, yep. I had to clear the codes first, so start the engine. And it's going to run through this. It's going to basically relearn all the cams in relation to the crankshaft. Cam crank relearn complete. Okay. Make sure we didn't set a code. No codes. Alright. So let's turn the engine back off and key back on. Now y'all remember, as soon as we looked at the misfire counter with the engine running, a whole bank was misfiring. So this whole bank would be misfiring. So let me crank it. Still saying it. So we may still need to do a memory reset. Let's see. Let's go out and do a memory reset. Okay. There we go. We're running. We're not counting. Problem solved. So, memory reset, cam crank relearn. Completely fine. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the car. You just got to do a few things to make it relearn things. Let's go drive it down the road. There we go. Just cruising down the road. No misfires at all. Driving exactly how she should be. So, I think this one's okay to give back to the customer. You gotta read your service information, people. It's little things like this that can really, really cost you a lot of extra time and a lot of extra money. Like this guy put in 3 new injectors, 3 new coils, 3 new spark plugs, all because scan data showed a misfire on a bank that wasn't actually misfiring. He was getting tricked by the strategy of the ECM disabling the injector because it thought it was misfiring. It wasn't misfiring. It needed a cam crank relearn, and then apparently just clear out some bad memory, also some bad adapted values, and that's it. So I'm gonna give this one back to the shop and they can get it back to their customer, and we'll see you guys later.